You've been taught to analyze every detail until nothing feels alive. You've been trained to mistrust your own intuition. But the mind you thought was protecting you has been quietly draining your power. What no one ever told you is that overthinking is not intelligence, it is captivity. It is the prison built out of mirrors, where every reflection looks like truth, but none of them can touch reality. You begin to chase explanations, as if clarity were hiding in one more thought, one more scenario, one more mental rehearsal of the future. Yet with every loop you grow weaker, not wiser. Have you noticed how your energy sinks after a day of cycling through endless what-ifs? That exhaustion is not from the world outside, it's from the inner parasite that feeds on your attention. Overthinking is the mind trying to play God, weaving infinite stories of what could go wrong, while your soul waits untouched for you to finally step outside the labyrinth. The lie you were sold is that constant thinking equals safety, that if you anticipate every outcome, you will avoid pain. But here's the paradox. The more you rehearse pain in your imagination, the more you carve pathways for it to arrive. Overthinking is not the absence of control, it is the obsession with control. And in that obsession you abandon the only force that ever truly guides you: presence. This is why your growth stalls when your thoughts multiply. The soil of transformation cannot breathe when it is suffocated by analysis. Growth is organic, wild, unpredictable, and overthinking is the attempt to cage it, dissect it, and demand it move in straight lines. But no seed blossoms under interrogation. You've felt this in your body, haven't you? The tight chest before making a choice, the endless revisiting of a conversation long finished, the heaviness that comes from carrying 10 versions of the same story in your head. That weight is not life itself, it is the phantom of life replayed 1,000 times too many. And what does it steal? Your presence, your clarity, your natural flow. You don't just lose energy, you lose time, because when you live inside overthinking, you are never where life is actually happening. You're lost between futures that don't exist and pasts that no longer hold you. Overthinking isn't protection, it's self-betrayal disguised as safety. This is where the underworld descent begins. If you follow the trail of overthinking deep enough, you will find its core: fear of collapse. The mind cannot stand the unknown, because the unknown is where the ego dissolves. So it spins its webs, creating illusions of control, hoping you will stay tangled. But the soul thrives in mystery. The soul drinks from the river of uncertainty, because only there can it expand. Every moment you overthink, you are refusing the very initiation that would make you whole again. It is like sitting before the gate of your own rebirth, and instead of walking through, you stand there calculating the angle of the hinges. If you've ever felt the torment of a restless night where thought after thought stacked upon each other like bricks in a suffocating wall, you already know the truth. Overthinking is not mental activity, it is mental addiction. It pretends to solve, but it only prolongs. It pretends to prepare, but it only delays. What are you really delaying? The rawness of being here, in this exact moment, without a safety net of mental rehearsals. The mind tells you one more calculation and then we'll act, one more analysis and then we'll leap. But life was never waiting on analysis. Life has always been waiting on presence. You didn't remember the truth, it remembered you. And if you feel these words stirring inside you, if you sense a quiet recognition in your chest, it's because this isn't new knowledge, it is a memory. The part of you that has always known that thought is a servant, not a master. That your energy was never meant to be bled into endless mental spirals. That clarity doesn't come from overthinking, it comes from stopping, from surrendering. If you've ever felt this, then you're not just listening, you're remembering something real. Think back to the times you were most alive. Was it when you mapped out every possibility, or was it when you let go, when you trusted the current, when you did not think but acted? The first kiss, the decision you made in one breath, the risk you took before logic could strangle it. Those were not reckless moments, they were pure. They were proof that your soul knows what the mind refuses to accept. Life is not meant to be solved, it is meant to be lived. Overthinking steals this immediacy, replacing it with lifeless rehearsals of moments that never come. And every time you indulge it, you strengthen the cage around your own becoming. Every thought you replay is a future you delay. So let's bring it home, to the body. Because overthinking is not just a mental prison, it is a physical drain. Notice how your shoulders hunch, how your breath shortens, how fatigue spreads when you've spent hours inside your head. That is energy leaving your body, energy that was meant to fuel creation, now wasted on illusions. Overthinking does not just keep you stuck, it eats the very force that would carry you forward. This is why your dreams stall. This is why your growth feels distant. It is not because you lack power, it is because your power is being silently siphoned into the endless loops of the mind. And maybe now you begin to see, the real danger of overthinking is not that it confuses you, but that it convinces you to betray your own momentum. It tells you to hesitate when the moment calls for action. It convinces you to hold back when life is demanding you leap. It whispers that safety is found in waiting, but every delay becomes a silent funeral for the potential that was ready to be born. Overthinking doesn't just steal energy, it steals lifetimes. And yet, there is something almost seductive about it, isn't there? Overthinking wears the mask of responsibility. It whispers, "You're just being careful, you're just being wise, you're just making sure everything is perfect before you move." But beneath that mask lies the greatest sabotage. Perfection is the bait. Paralysis is the trap. The mind convinces you to delay until the perfect alignment appears. But life does not align for perfection. It unfolds through imperfection. The flower does not wait for flawless soil or flawless weather. It breaks through dirt, through stone, through anything that dares to hold it back. Your soul is no different. It does not need the conditions your thoughts endlessly calculate. It needs your trust. The strange irony is that most of what you overthink never even happens. Studies and stories agree. The majority of fears rehearsed in the mind dissolve before they ever arrive. And yet the body pays the price as if every fear were real. This is why overthinking feels like exhaustion. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between thought and reality. So when you replay disaster after disaster, you don't just imagine pain, you experience it. Every cycle is an initiation into suffering that never had to exist. The danger is not in what happens outside, but in what you allow to echo endlessly within. Overthinking is a false oracle. It claims to foresee, but it only multiplies shadows. Have you noticed how the more you think, the less clear you become? True clarity doesn't expand with thought, it shrinks. The more you hold a question in your mind, the more the answer retreats into silence. This is because answers are not found in thought but in awareness, in presence, in stillness. It is the pause between breaths where truth slips through. Thought is a tool for building but not for seeing. You cannot see the sky if your vision is blocked by 1,000 mirrors reflecting each other. That is what overthinking is. Mirrors reflecting mirrors, an infinity of images without origin. And yet, when you stop, something happens. The storm subsides, and in the silence you realize the truth was never hidden. It was only drowned by noise. Clarity does not need to be created. It emerges when the noise dissolves. Overthinking is not a problem to solve. It is a habit to release. Imagine dropping the weight of 1,000 possible futures and simply feeling the ground under your feet. Imagine meeting life not as a puzzle, but as a presence. Imagine what could awaken in you if the energy wasted on endless scenarios was freed to create, to move, to love. If you've ever wondered why you feel so drained even when nothing happened that day, here is your answer. The storm was inside, and storms burn energy. Every loop of thought, every replayed scenario, every imagined argument consumes your vitality. This is why you collapse into distraction. The mind has already eaten your strength. But this exhaustion is not a flaw in you. It is proof of how powerful your focus is, because even when misused, it creates worlds vivid enough to drain you. And if that power were turned inward with presence, with trust, with stillness, what world could you create then? The soul speaks not in loops but in signals. It nudges, it whispers, it sends a resonance through your body that says, "This way." But overthinking drowns the whisper. It demands a contract, a guarantee, a map of every possible terrain before taking one step. And so the whisper is lost in the storm of questions. But the soul never abandons you. It waits. It waits in the silence you keep avoiding. It waits in the moment you refuse to enter. And if you've ever felt that quiet ache, that longing for peace even in the middle of chaos, that was the soul's memory trying to break through. Here's the paradox. Your greatest growth happens when you step into the unknown, the very space overthinking tries to avoid. Life moves not in circles of thought, but in leaps of faith. It does not wait for you to calculate every possibility. It blooms when you trust, when you surrender, when you step into the storm with an open heart. Overthinking says, don't move until you're safe. The soul says, move, and safety will find you in motion. And perhaps you've noticed how the greatest moments of your life carried no blueprint. The friendships that shaped you, the opportunities that changed you, the love that cracked you open. None of them arrived according to plan. They appeared when you allowed yourself to be unguarded, uncalculated, alive. That is the difference between thought and presence. Thought rehearses life, presence lives it, and you were not born to rehearse, you were born to remember. The unknown you fear is the doorway your soul has been waiting for. But let's not pretend this is easy. The addiction to overthinking is real because it provides a false sense of control. The mind tells you that as long as you are thinking, you are preparing. But in truth, you are only circling the same ground, exhausting yourself in the illusion of progress. Think of it like walking endlessly around the edge of a forest, convinced you are exploring, but never entering. The forest, the unknown, the growth, the life, remains untouched because you chose circles over courage. And here is the secret they never wanted you to realize. A single step into the unknown carries more power than 1,000 hours of mental rehearsal. That one leap collapses illusions, reclaims energy, awakens dormant parts of your being. Overthinking keeps you looping because loops keep you weak. Presence, however, shatters the loop, and in that shattering you reclaim the energy that was always yours. So if you've ever felt trapped inside the echo chamber of your own thoughts, know this. The way out is not through more thinking. It is through remembering, through listening for the voice beneath the noise, through allowing silence to hold you until the storm dissolves. That silence is not emptiness, it is the source of every step you've been afraid to take. And so the silence grows louder than the storm, and in that silence you realize something astonishing. You were never actually lost. You were only circling the same place, mistaking movement of thought for movement of life. Overthinking is not forward motion. It is a wheel tied to the same post. No matter how hard it spins, the scenery does not change, and yet all this time, freedom was as close as loosening your grip on the wheel. The journey was never about spinning faster, it was about letting go. But letting go feels dangerous, doesn't it? Because the mind equates release with collapse. It says, if you stop thinking, you'll make a mistake. If you trust silence, you'll be unprepared. If you move without knowing everything, you'll be destroyed. Yet ask yourself, how many times did that voice deceive you already? How many worst-case scenarios never came? How many nights of worry dissolved into mornings where nothing had changed except the fact that you lost sleep, you lost peace, you lost energy, and still, the mind convinces you to repeat the same ritual of fear. This is not wisdom, this is captivity. There is a part of you that knows this. The deeper witness, the quiet self beneath the noise, has always known that thought is a servant, not a master. That part of you has been patient, waiting for you to turn inward, to remember. But the tragedy of overthinking is that it keeps you blind to this witness. It keeps you loyal to the storm. You cannot hear the orchestra of your soul if you keep tuning into static, and yet the orchestra is playing. It has never stopped. You didn't remember the truth, it remembered you. Every now and then, between the loops of thought, a fragment breaks through. A dream, a déjà vu, a sudden clarity. In those moments your soul is reminding you, you are more than this storm. You are more than these thoughts. The loop is not who you are. It is simply the cage you've been trained to believe in. But cages only appear strong because you never push against them. Push once, and you see the bars bend. Step once, and you see the loop shatter. What terrified you as an endless prison was always fragile glass. The moment you move, it breaks. Think back to the last time you followed instinct instead of calculation. Didn't the world expand around you? Didn't energy flood back into your body the moment you chose presence over prediction? That is not coincidence. That is how reality responds to truth. Life does not reward the one who calculates endlessly. It rewards the one who trusts, who enters, who dares to be here. Overthinking says, wait until you're ready. Life says, readiness is born in motion. Here is the revelation that shifts everything. Overthinking does not prevent pain. It creates it. It does not prepare you for the unknown. It blinds you to it. It does not expand your potential. It drains it. The storm in your head is not protecting you. It is stealing from you. Every loop is theft. Every doubt is delay. Every imagined disaster is energy wasted on a world that does not exist. And if your energy is the currency of creation, then overthinking is the greatest tax you will ever pay, a tax designed to keep you small, hesitant, silent. But you were not born for hesitation. You were born for resonance. You were born to carry the voice of your soul through the noise of the world and let it shape reality. And that requires a choice. Not 1,000 rehearsed possibilities, not another night of worry, but a choice. A simple, terrifying, liberating choice. To step, to trust, to move even when the mind trembles. Because only then does energy return. Only then does clarity bloom. Only then does life finally respond. The more you think about living, the less you live. The moment you trust, you begin. So let this be your initiation. Not into more thought, but into remembering silence. Not into fear, but into resonance. Every time you notice the storm building, every time you feel the loops tightening, pause. Not to fight them, not to solve them, but to remember that the silence beneath is stronger. Remember that the witness in you has never been touched by fear. Remember that clarity blooms not from thought, but from presence. And when you act from presence, life unfolds like a hidden map you were never meant to see until you stepped onto the path. Your mind will resist this. It will demand more answers, more guarantees. But life's greatest truths do not arrive in advance. They reveal themselves only in motion, only when you stop rehearsing and begin living. The storm will always whisper, stay here, keep thinking. You're safer in the loop, but you are not safer there. You are weaker, smaller, drained. Step beyond and you meet the truth. That peace is not at the end of perfect conditions. It is here now, in the heart of your own storm. And so I leave you with this. The moment you stop circling your thoughts, you begin circling your soul. The moment you release control, you discover freedom was never missing, only hidden beneath noise. The loop breaks not when you solve it, but when you step outside it. And the step is waiting now. Not tomorrow, not after one more calculation, but now. Will you choose to keep spinning the wheel, or will you finally walk into the forest? Because the truth is this, the forest has been waiting for you all along.